Hey, so I finally found a huge benefit of being a former Jehovah's Witness or someone who is at least raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Oftentimes, it's really easy to identify the ways that they've negatively affected our lives and the losses that we took wasting years serving an organization that basically controlled our every move. It's not all bad, so stick around and see why I'm so happy and how being one of Jehovah's Witnesses has everything to do with it. So my birthday is literally right around the corner, next Saturday, I think. And for me, I love birthdays. Not for the presents. I don't eat cake. But it's because I'm crazy and love the idea of getting a year older. And around here, we don't just celebrate February 9th. I get the entire month. The entire month is my birthday. I'm probably making up for lost time. For whatever reason, I've always been excited to get a year older. I listen to my friends when we were 20 and they're like, oh my God, I'm almost 30. When you're 30, they dread being 35. My 34-year-old friends like to still say, well, I'm in my early 30s. Well, I'm running around going, I'm almost 40. I'm almost 40. Of course, at 40, I did have to finally, literally the year I turned 40, I did finally have to break down and get glasses. But I was like, cool, my body's getting older. I'm getting glasses. That's life. Look at me aging, getting older, going blind. For whatever reason, it never bothered me. And every decade I hit, or every 5 years, people would go, oh, just wait 5 more years. You know, oh, you be prepared for being depressed, you know, when you hit 40. That's a hard one for women. Sometimes I think that maybe I get excited to get older because if I get some gray hairs, maybe people will actually respect me and take me seriously. And I learned a long time ago not to ask people their age on their birthday. Apparently it's a thing. I guess I'm rude like that. I don't know why it is that everyone dreads getting older. Maybe they have the whole fear of death. Don't know. But I don't know why they do. For me, I love the fact that I am eking my way to being a half a century old. Half a century. That's awesome. So next week on February 9th, I will be 44 years old. I'm very excited about it. We already started celebrating. Had some delicious lunch/dinner at a Mexican restaurant yesterday. Went to a Brazilian grill for a super late dinner. Delicious. Next week on Friday, my kids will be coming over so that we can eat more food. I guess we celebrate with a lot of food. So Saturday on my birthday, we're gonna go and get a manicure, get the nails done, go see a movie, eat more food, whatever it is that I wanna do, that's what we're doing. And I absolutely look forward to it and love celebrating getting older. I had to stop and think at one point because I do have a different perspective than most people. Most people, oh, it's my birthday, I'm getting old. Oh, my back. Oh, my aching knees. Really? So I've given it a lot of thought. Why is that? Why do I love getting old? This was never supposed to happen. Like many of you, I was never supposed to make it to my 40s, my 30s, maybe my early 20s. But we didn't think much beyond that. This age, me here right now, was never supposed to happen. The world should have ended by now. If it had ended when I was a child, I may or may not have survived. And even once I left the Jehovah's Witnesses, I knew I was doomed to not survive. And I think I celebrate the fact that I don't live every single day in fear. All right, so a little bit of background information for those of you who are unfamiliar. Jehovah's Witnesses are trained, taught, it's embedded in them, that there is no sense planning for the future. Every single day, you know, could be your last day. And they don't live as if it's the last day. Well, what they do is they preach more. If this is the last day, you need to get as many followers to join as possible. But every day is potentially your last day, or at least the beginning. Well, they already think the end of time started, but the effects on us could happen at any time. So for me as a child, I was taught to not plan for the future, literally, particularly in the 80s, because we had just missed the whole 1975 debacle. We were specifically told that we would not grow old. So there's an Awake magazine, May 22nd, 1969, that specifically tells young people, if you are a young person, you need to face the fact that you will never grow old in this present system of things. This also goes hand in hand as to why they discourage higher education. There's no reason to educate yourself or to get a career if the world's going to end. That same article continues to kind of touch on that when it reads, therefore, as a young person, you will never fulfill any career that this system offers. If you're in high school and thinking about going to college, it means at least 4, perhaps even 6 or 8 more years to graduate into a specialized career. But where will this system of things be by that time? It will be well on its way toward its finish, if not actually gone. All right, so that's an article from 1969, and you might think, well, they don't really teach that anymore. Kids are still not dreading. Kids currently are not dreading that the end of the world will come. And it's okay to go to school and all that stuff, but if you haven't seen it already, I did an article reviewing the Circuit Overseer's talk on education back in September 2018, so fairly recent. And I'll post a link down to that in the description as to why if you get an education, you're just like Satan. But my point is they are still continuing to teach, as I was taught, don't plan for the future. So we are taught this any day now, any second now, at any time, and the world's going to come to an end. And we're actually taught to be very excited about the demise of everyone else. We are taught to pray for the end to come, to be excited for the end of this system of things. But truthfully, it's terrifying. I know a lot of ex-witnesses have, in other videos, sometimes in comments, in articles, still have nightmares in regards to the series of events that we can expect. Be excited for those huge fireballs shooting down from the heavens, destroying everything around us, people we know, family members we love, and they're all gonna die. A lot of former witnesses still have nightmares of these images that were embedded into their minds. I think this is especially true for those who are raised witnesses, because embedding information into young minds fosters a lifetime of fear. And people who are in fear, they're easy to control. So we're taught these things from the get-go. Again, from my book of Bible stories. Oh, while we're on the subject, if you haven't seen this one already, love it, super cute. I will try to remember to put a link down in the description. Great idea. That's my new wine glass. So white trash in a coffee cup. So let's look at my book of Bible stories, and the second to the last scripture, and the second to the last story. And this is what it's telling the children to remember about everything they've read in this book. Look back at story 10. What do you see there? Yes, the great flood that destroyed bad people. Who caused that flood? Jehovah God. Now, look at story 15. What's happening there? Sodom and Gomorrah are being destroyed by fire that Jehovah sent. Turn to story 33. See what's happening to those horses and war chariots of the Egyptians? Who caused the water to come crashing down on them? Jehovah. He did it to protect his people. Look at story 76. You will see there that Jehovah even let his people, the Israelites, be destroyed because of their badness. So then, we should not be surprised that Jehovah will send his heavenly armies to put an end to all badness on earth.
Oh my dear God, Jesus. see.
Oh, God. Did you see?
Yes.
Did you see?
Please, no.
No? No what?
And this threat continues on into adolescence, into adulthood. The reasoning from the scriptures book goes on to say, who will die? Because it definitely includes children. Those who do not know God and who do not obey the good news will undergo the judicial punishment of everlasting destruction. The Bible does not directly answer the question of what will happen to young people at Armageddon. However, it does reveal that in times past, when God destroyed the wicked, he also destroyed the children. Would it not be wise for parents to pursue a course that would result in their children being looked on with favor by God both now and at Armageddon? Yeah. So I knew as a child I had just as good a chance as anyone else. There is no automatic just because you're a kid. So you're always asking yourself things like, was that migraine I had really bad enough for me to miss a meeting? Did I witness enough to my friends at school? Did I put enough hours in? What if I didn't have enough book studies? Maybe I shouldn't have had that full-time job. Maybe I should have pioneered more. You really don't know if what you're doing is good enough to be in God's favor. So for me, I was not as afraid of that aspect of Armageddon. I wasn't afraid of the fireballs coming down. I didn't have a lot of nightmares about that. I guess what makes me even worse of a Jehovah's Witness, I was more afraid of man. We're taught at a very young age that at some point in time there will be horrific persecution to any of Jehovah's followers. And since we're his only true followers, that meant me. And we're trained that no matter how bad the torture, we cannot renounce God's name. We cannot deny Jehovah, no matter how bad the torture. And that's what kept me up at night. One magazine article that sticks out specifically to me, I will never forget it. It was a man in Zimbabwe who was being persecuted for being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And as the story was explained, and yes, children are in the audience for this, because he was one of Jehovah's Witnesses and he refused to say he wasn't, he refused to deny Jehovah, they tortured him by hooking his testicles up to a car battery and electrocuting him. I don't know how old I was when I first heard that story, but it sticks with me to this day. To this day, sometimes it will pop in my head and I just imagine his screams and the terror and the horror and the pain. His testicles being electrocuted by a car battery. But he stood strong. And I remember the picture of him. He was in his suit and he's smiling. And the article said something like introed into, why is this man so happy? Look at that smile on his face. And then it goes into reasons why he shouldn't be happy because he was tortured and tormented. But we're basically told, look, he made it out and he never turned his back on Jehovah. This is the shit that kept me up at night. And as a child, you are told story after story after story of the people who were persecuted and tortured or killed or whatever. And you're encouraged, and every time, they always make it through, right? They always survive these horrible events. From Abraham to Lot to Joseph in prison. Job, how he was basically tortured and tormented by Satan. We're taught about the Israelites and the pain and suffering they endured. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. One of my personal favorite stories, but I think I was just always so proud that I could pronounce their names. And finally, Jesus. Even today, you can visit jw.org And they're still referencing a coalition of nations that will annihilate the one true religion. And we are directed to stand firm against this torture and torment. Stand firm. You're with Jehovah or against him. If in the time of torture, Jehovah's not going to react right away. He's not going to step in right away. He will not step in until you have completely committed yourself to not denying him. So Jehovah may not act or extend his blessing because at this point there's nothing to be blessed. It's not until you make that commitment and prove that you're not going to deny him that he will then step in. I interpret this way, at least I do when I'm a kid, right? So you're being tortured and they're pushing bamboo under your fingernails, which is supposed to be horribly painful. And at any time you're waiting for Jehovah to step in, but if he hasn't stepped in, it's because you clearly haven't made that commitment to him. So the torture continues and you stand your ground. You refuse to deny him. Maybe they start sawing off slowly some of your fingers and you think, anytime now, Jehovah. Well, again, he's not stepping in because you clearly haven't made that commitment. When the torture finally stops, if you haven't given him up or betrayed other family members or congregations or whatever it is the torturer was trying to get out of you, when the torture stops, it's because Jehovah stepped in, because you committed. So for me, the fire and brimstone from heaven wasn't what terrified me. It was the thought of undergoing torture or watching my family members be tortured. You know, my mom would ask me, what if she would put herself in the position, she would say, what if I turn against Jehovah, Cass? What if I'm trying to get information from you about where the other witnesses are? And she would tell me I needed to be prepared to cut her out of my life. She could go down the wrong path. Basically, your own family could come after you, so you had to be prepared for that too. Or she would say, what if they're torturing me, Cass? They may not torture you. They might torture your brothers, your little sister, and they will use any tactics necessary. I mean, specifically, they would tell us, these people are not beyond raping babies. Will you deny Jehovah if you see that? And so for me at night, I would practice these scenarios in my head. I would practice watching my brothers and sisters being tortured, watching my father be beat or raped, mostly obsessed with them being cut with knives or my baby brother being raped and mutilated. So any kind of torture that we would read about, or anyways, in my case, that I would read about, hear about in school, through history books, or see on TV. I applied these to my scenarios, and I would replay this in my head, preparing myself to be strong, and that no matter what I experienced, I would not deny Jehovah. Needless to say, I went to bed a lot of nights crying. It wasn't just the thought of these things that upset me so much. I mean, that was upsetting. I was upset because in every scenario I could come up with, I always gave in. I just knew I wasn't going to be strong enough. And we're taught to pray for strength when these times come. And that's not what I prayed for. I spent every night praying for forgiveness because I already knew that when it occurred, I just didn't have it in me. So at some point I got out. As most know, I physically left the Jehovah's Witnesses about 25 years ago. But once I got out, I knew there was going to be a time that the Jehovah's Witnesses were going to be persecuted. I still believed that. So I was ready for the time to come that I would have to hide my witness family, that I would have to protect them from the nations coming after Jehovah's people. Would I hide them? Yeah. Did I know I was going to be persecuted right along with them? Yeah. And did I know that Jehovah still wasn't going to save me at the end because I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness? Yeah, I knew that too. You're physically out, but for a lot of people, forever mentally in. I know a lot of you can relate to this, so please let me know what did you dread most when you were younger? I don't know, maybe older. What did you dread most about the end of the system of things? And don't forget to like and subscribe while you're at it, if you do. I'm terrible at promoting the subscribe button, which was probably why I was a terrible Jehovah's Witness too. And also, while I'm at it, I'm actually thinking about adding some different content this summer when I have some extra time. I hear so many of your stories and experiences in my comments, so I'm considering doing some content, maybe monthly, interviewing the rank and file, sharing your stories with anyone who will listen. I don't know if I have the equipment to do it. I'm still investigating. But if that's something you'd like to see, let me know down in the comments. Okay, where was I? Oh yes, being tortured in the name of Jehovah, or to save my Jehovah's Witness family members. I don't know when I stopped believing that. I can't pinpoint any moment in time. I guess just through the years it seemed less likely. And then when you do research, it's definitely not likely. And so for me, you gain a year and you gain another year. And I internally celebrate because all of those years of torture and torment and preparing for the end to come, it just makes gaining another year of life more brilliant. You know, I'm here, life is good. And what I try to do is I have an internal dialogue that I use, still working on it coming to the external, but to embrace everything that we do in life. You know, most of us say, I have to go shopping. No, you get to go shopping. You're still alive. I have to go to work tomorrow. No, I get to go to work tomorrow. I'm still alive. I have to go to the dentist. No, you get to go to the dentist. All right, maybe it doesn't work on everything. My point is, we weren't supposed to be here. This today that's here right now wasn't supposed to happen, but we're here. So embrace every day, every month, and certainly every year as you get older and are proving the governing body wrong. I'll be 44 next week. That's almost half a century. So tell me, how old are you? And how much are you loving it? I'll see you next time.